Good morning, 30th of April 2020. As you can see, today is going to be the last working day at home before going back to the office. We are so happy to being all of us together as a team. We will have to keep the distance and the 2 meters and wear the mask and all this, but clean our hands. But in Bilbao, the figures are going like 1,000 people are under the virus, and the tendency is minus 400 per day. So what are the current news of coronavirus and seafarer situation? Unfortunately, having so many seafarers at home, the supply and demand has decreased the wages around 15%, 1.5 altogether. This is what we are experiencing. In some companies, like in the offshore side, we are having minus 30% because most of the ships are going to be laid up. Therefore, if there is no activity, and the length of the contract of the seafarers previously was 4 months, now we're looking at extending to 6 months to reduce the cost of travel, plus also the difficulties that nowadays the governments are having. We have seen, and I published in LinkedIn today, that the seafarers are becoming strategic for the governments. Finally, they they understand that we are a core activity. In this respect, we have to expect the rest of the world governments that they really fight for the health, the income, and the priority that the seafarers provide to the world. 90% trade. All the goods that are internationally moved and even locally are or go in a ship, and seafarers are strategic. We also, the crew management companies, look after the seafarers, the reliefs, the endorsements, all the documents and the wages and well-being, health, and so we are also strategic. And this finally it is becoming a fact. It is about time they realized how important we are. We don't get clap, but I will do this today. Thank you, seafarers. Thank you very much for your help. No one has clapped to you, but I do first. I hope that the others will understand and they will cope with the situation. Now, what is the problem with the tests that we have for coronavirus? A lot of governments requisition these tests because they think that politicians and a public bus driver is strategic. I am sorry. The ship crew is strategic. So that worker must have the test first. Do not play with this, please, because it looks like the politicians and the public services want to be like they are strategic, and that's not the case. That's not the case at all. We need the test for the seafarers. We need them now. I am getting angry with this situation because the whole public show governments are looking after these tests and doing wrong statistics, don't even know how to add, they don't even know how to prevent this situation, and then when they have a big mess, they don't want to give tests to seafarers. Yes, we are now strategic and we are getting the planes, we are getting the transport to the ports. There is plenty other things I will talk later, but now we need the tests. We are tired that everybody around us is talking and talking and talking whilst we do the working. We put the food in your houses, the insulin, we put the toilet paper around the world, we transport all the drinks, we transport all the cereals, all the milk. We do the transport, so please, take this into account from now on. We need the tests for all the seafarers, I'll say it again. They must be healthy. Their welfare is the most important thing for us, the employers. and you must take care that these seafarers do have health on board, and there is not even one case of seafarers' health at risk. This is how it has to be. Now, on the other side of this, we have also experienced that the taxes of the government, like for example in Spain, there is 550 billion, which health, security and education is 19. Therefore, we crew management companies that supply the service to the seafarers must have a special tax rate. And all the small and medium companies that employ ashore, 90% of humans must have this 5%. Once we do this, then we will take away all these 80% of cost that is completely inutile public services, that we don't need so many theaters, so many councils, so many 50,000 buildings worth 230 billion cash, and overheads, maintenance, miscellaneous costs that we don't need this. We only need to transport food and goods, services from this place to that place. Give the best tax rate to seafarers, give them a strategic position. They must have in the planes, they must have the 40 kilos, they must have fast boarding truck in the airports. Why? Because seafarers are important. They are strategic. Why not have a seafarer, a fast truck? Why not have 40 kilos if that person is going to be working for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, carrying your goods and services for, say, all that period, sending the money home away 6,000 kilometers, and why we do not have this seafarer strategic boarding pass, extra food in the plane, the best seats in the plane. Then if we have identified the core 20% tax for small and medium companies, then we can really also work for that. They have the best training. Every time on board a ship, they ask, I would really like to do this safety training. I would really like to do this dynamic positioning training, this offshore, this electrician training, any tanker training, general cargo training, safety, health, prevention, any kind of training. These seafarers must have the digital appliances that they have, transparent, free, online, digital, straight, state of the art. We are going to keep on working here. Don't worry. We got you being strategic for the shore governments. Now we are going to work in your training. The associations that we are working with are listening to this video. International Maritime Employers Council. We employ over 300,000 seafarers. We are going to work also in that your family and sanitary assistance, once you are on board, are better covered. P&I insurance companies must work very strongly in this. Why not only cover the health and the indemnity club of the ship, whilst the health of the seafarer is so key and so critical? We must also work in the mortgages that you're asking, in the bank loans that you are asking. This digital world will help you have better finance. If you need anything at home whilst you are at sea, we will be there also. Then, not least, the schools. Well, of course, the seafarers must have better rates for the schools of the families. We will also get into that slowly, but we are not going to stop, don't worry. We continue with the mask, without the mask, from home, from the office. We continue, don't worry about this. The priority of the seafarers is very important that we deal with this. Most of the governments will have to really understand that 1.5 million seafarers times 2,000 euros approx. It's 3,000 billion euros per month times 12 months is 36 billion gross domestic product, that your country can get Countries like Spain are not interested in employing 1.5 million seafarers. They only want your tax, not your jobs. They rather have you unemployed and then getting the dole from the government, but not creating intrinsic value compound for the country, which in 100 years is 3.6 trillion. We have understood that Filipinas is working very strongly here. We have made a strategic agreement with a company in Filipinas I mentioned already, and we really very much like the Filipino seafarers that you and the Asian seafarers, please put your CVs in our database. There is another video explaining how to fill in your CV. We need your data in our CV. We also here asking the Filipino government, why is it that 20% of the wages of the Filipinos are discounted for the orphans clause or column or for the universities of Asia and this blah 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 blah. Please pass the paper documents that are 20% less the wages of the Filipino seafarers. Today, you Filipino government can work towards this 20% wages of the Filipinos going down to 19, 18, blah 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 blah, and then going back to zero. We want to pay $1,700 US to a Filipino AB or $2,000 to a pumpman or whatever the market rate is at whatever the exchange rate is. But we want to pay net the wage directly to the bank account of the beneficiary of the Filipino seafarer. And the same for the Indian, are the same for the Sri Lankan, the same for the Spanish, the Honduran, the Latvian, the Ukrainian, the Russian. The seafarers must have net wage, please. You have to understand that this is very strategical situation, that we are also working here very strong. And please, if you like this video to be passed to other seafarers, subscribe, like it, and make sure that this is the situation that we are going to start using the brain in this COVID situation. I believe that I did not forget anything, and I thank you very much for your time. I hope that you have safe seas, and for you ship owner, thank you. Take care. Bye.